Poet Laureate of Connecticut for 5 years and professor of poetry at the University of Connecticut, and has been anthologized at least 3 times in Best American Poetry by Yusef Komunyakaa, Lily Collins, and Heather McHugh. And if I'm wrong, she will correct me. She writes in form and including crowns of sonnets. And I wonder what she will read this evening. And I'm sure she will enlighten us. Here's Marilyn.
I think this will do. I'm really pleased to be reading in this company and to hear so many terrific poems, terrific poets. And I've timed my reading so I don't have time for you to say anything else. This is a poem that was in the Best American. It's a poem from a book called Miss Crandall's School for Young Ladies, young Mrs. Lay of Color. She opened the doors of this school to African American girls, and all hell broke loose. And instead of accepting the judgment of her neighbors, she closed the school briefly and then opened it only to African American girls. There were laws passed against it. They were harassed. The town businesses refused to sell them food. The well was poisoned. And finally the neighbors surrounded the house one night, broke all of the windows, ransacked the house, and set the house on fire. So the house was closed. The school was closed in 1834. Elizabeth and I wrote poems in the voices of the students. So this is one of them. It's called Etymology. The filth hissed at us when we venture out, always in 2s or 3s, never alone, seems less a language spoken than one spat in savage plosives, primitive, obscene, a cave mob mia, limited in frame of reference and novelty, the same suggestions of what we or they could do or should ad infinitum. Yesterday, a mill girl spat a phrase I'd never heard before. I stopped and looked at her, perplexed. I derived its general meaning from the context, but was stumped by the etymology of one word. What was its source? Which demon should we thank? For words, it must be an abomination to think. This is another poem based on history, another Connecticut story. That was 19th century. This one is 18th century. I was asked to write a poem to celebrate a skeleton that is still in the collection of the Mattituck Museum in Waterbury, Connecticut. The skeleton was presented to the museum about 50, 60 years ago, and the museum didn't know where it came from, whose bones these were. So in about 1999, the museum hired a team of forensic scholars and historians to do research into this skeleton. And this team discovered that this is a skeleton of an 18th century slave named Fortune, who was enslaved in Waterbury, Connecticut about 30 years before the Revolutionary War. He was owned by a doctor, a bone setter, whose name was Preserved Porter. And when Fortune died as the result of a fall, Dr. Porter, there were no medical schools in North America, and human dissection was illegal. So when Fortune died, Dr. Porter took his body to a hill outside of town and stripped the flesh from his bones, drilled holes in the long bones, and boiled all of the bones to free them of all flesh. And then he carefully numbered them and reassembled the skeleton and hung it in a room in his home to be used as a little homegrown medical school. Yeah, I was asked to write something which could be set to music. So there's a little cantata about this. The book is called Fortune's Bones, the Manumission Requiem. And this is the aria for Fortune himself. It's called Not My Bones. I was not this body. I was not these bones. This skeleton was just my temporary home. Elementary molecules converged for a breath, then danced on beyond my individual death. And I am not my body. I am not my body. We are brief incarnations. We are clouds in clothes. We are water respirators. We are how Earth knows. I bore light passed on from an original flame. While it was in my hands, it was called by my name. But I am not my body. I am not my body. You can own a man's body, but you can't own his mind. That's like making a bridle to ride on the wind. I will tell you one thing, and I'll tell you true. Life's the best thing that can happen to you. But you are not your body. You are not your body. You can own someone's body, but the soul runs free. It roams the night sky's mute geometry. You can murder hope. You can pound faith flat. But like weeds and wildflowers, they grow right back. For you are not your body. You are not your body. You are not your body. You are not your bones. What's essential about you is what can't be owned. What's essential in you is your longing to raise your itty-bitty voice in the cosmic praise. For you are not your body. You are not your body. Well, I woke up this morning just so glad to be free, glad to be free, glad to be free. I woke up this morning in restful peace, for I am not my body. I am not my bones. I am not my body. Glory, hallelujah. I am not my bones. I am not my bones.
That was great, Marilyn. That really was, exactly. I'm not my body either. Our next reader is Cornelius Eady. Cornelius is one of the founders of Cave Canem, which is a very important literary group that began, I guess, was around 1996. 96?
Yeah, 96, yes, it was 96.
You know.
You know. Yeah, 96.
And Cornelius wrote one of the poems in the current Best American Poetry 2011 that has garnered the most attention. Emmett Till's, I forget the full title, but it's...
Last time, Castle.
He knows.
He knows a great deal, and I'm going to defer to him and ask him to step forward and read his poems. Cornelius Eady.
Is this okay? Can I borrow this? Yes. Bad things will happen. the 17-year-olds I wanted when I was 17. I have them now. It is very pleasant. It is never too late. My advice to you all is to become rich and famous. Leonard Cohen. The naked girls. Talk to one another. It's really. I thought I'd read this poem just so Kimiko could heckle me, you know. But really, it is really an honor to be part of this. To be in the anthology twice is really, as Kimiko says, it's a big fucking deal.
I love to be quoted for you.
Yeah, that's right. Always Kimiko, yeah. But yeah, and also because you know, it's one of those things where basically I'm going to read the two poems that appeared in the anthologies. The first one was, and I'm also going to do something that hopefully won't take up too much time. Both times that my poems have appeared in the anthology, I've always forgotten to write back to David's wonderful email about writing about the circumstances that made the poem. I always go, yes, I'll do it, and then I always forget, and then I get the book and I go, oh, I forgot this. I did this. And then there's this big blank and a broken heart, and I feel bad. So I have a moment to actually rectify this, and I'm going to do that. The first poem was both the poems that were in the anthology originally appeared in the New Yorker magazine, and they were part of my first appearances in the New Yorker. So that was really great. The other thing about it was that the person who picked this poem, Handyman, for the anthology was my old teacher, Charles Wright. A long time ago when I was living in Virginia, and I just finished teaching at Sweetbriar College, I was invited to be part of a poetry workshop with Charles Wright and Gregory Orr. I was team taught, and it was an incredible workshop. It was amazing to see these two men work from different sides of the idea of the poem sometimes, and arrive to the same conclusion. It was an incredible workshop, and so it was very touching that decades later, my old teacher remembered or liked the poem enough to actually pick it. So it was a double pleasure, triple pleasure. But the poem Handyman is because back in 1992, I believe, my wife and I bought a summer house in upstate New York in Greene County, outside of a little town called Cairo. And it's a very two small cabins, or cottages, separated by a driveway. And we spent most of our lives in New York as renters, and so this is the first time we ever actually bought property. And we had to learn stuff. I have a friend, I have an ex-student who went through a similar situation, and when she wrote her series of poems about being a homeowner for the first time, she gave it the title I wish I had thought of at the time, which was Stupid Human. So, Handyman. The furnace wheezes like a drenched lung. You can't fix it. The toilet babbles like a speed freak. You can't fix it. The fuse box is a nest of rattlers. You can't fix it. The screens yawn the bees through. Your fingers are dumb against the hammer. Your eyes can't tell plum from plums. The frost heaves against the door jambs. The ice turns the power lines to brittle candy. No one told you about how things pop and fizzle. No one schooled you in spare parts. That's what the guy says, but doesn't say, as he tosses his lingo at your apartment dweller ears, a bit bemused, a touch impatient. After the spring melt has wrecked something, stopped something. After the hard wind has lifted something away. After the mystery has plugged the pipes. That rattle coughs up something sinister. An easy fix, but not for you. It's different when you own it. When it's yours, he says, as the meter runs, then smiles like an adult. This next one is the other poem, and it is Emmett Till's Glass Top Casket, and the story behind that is that, my friend, Harriet Pollock, who is teaches at Buckingham University in the English department, and is also, turns out, is also a Emmett Till scholar, emailed me this story about Emmett Till's casket. And the story is that his casket is in Chicago, and there was some sort of fraud going on at the people who were running this, the graveyard was doing this scam. I guess they were taking bodies and dumping them out in the back and all this whole stuff, and the scam got exposed, and the authorities came and started cleaning up the place. And as they cleaned up the place, they found a little shed. In the shed was Emmett Till's coffin. I think you all know the significance of the coffin. When Emmett Till after Emmett Till was brutally murdered down south, he was there for a funeral. His mother insisted on an open casket so that everyone could see what they had done to her child. And it's kind of the spark that begins the civil rights movement in a lot of ways. I mean, other things go on. This is one of those flashpoints. And then he was put in the casket, was put into the ground. And then for some decades later, for some reason, they needed to dig his body up to do some testing, maybe some DNA testing or something. And the law is such that you can't rebury a body in the same casket. So, but it is a historical casket. So what they did was, put him into a new casket, bury that casket, and then they put the original casket in a tool shed and buried that until the scandal. And my friend Harriet emailed this, the story she emails over to me. I'm at Squaw Valley when this happened, so I'm teaching at Squaw Valley in California a few summers ago, and the deal with Squaw Valley is that every day, everyone, including the faculty, a rule we do not enforce is carbon for the faculty, but at Squaw Valley, everyone has to write a new poem every day. So I was struggling over what poem I was going to write for the next morning, and suddenly I get this email from Harriet with this incredible story. So the casket is there. They find the casket. They open it up, and in the casket is I want to make sure I can remember this. It's a family of possums had moved in. Emmett Till's glass top casket. By the time they cracked me open again, topside, abandoned in a tool shed, I had become another kind of mess. Not many people connect possums with Chicago. But this is where the city ends, after all. And I float still after the footfalls fade and the roots bloom around us. The fact was, everything that worked for my young man worked for my new tenants. The fact was, he had been gone for years. They lifted him from my embrace, and I was empty, ready. That's how the possums found me, friend, dry docked, a tattered mercy home. Once I held a boy who didn't look like a boy. When they finally remembered, they peeked through my clear top. Then their wild surprise.
heard some wonderful poems tonight, and I hope you will give a round of applause to our poets who Thank you, poets. Thank you, Tim, Jason, Greg, Marilyn.
All the poets back on stage. Every poet who read it on stage. We do a group photo.
Everyone get on stage and
All the poets.
take your clothes off. That's the idea. And now we will all sing a chorus.
Shorter people in front. You guys decide. Shorter people in front, taller in back.
We're going to sing a chorus now.
Christina, our hostess. Everybody. This is where the photographers earn their money. They shot everybody's together. Christina, get in here. Come on.
Christine, get in here.
Everything about it is appealing. Everything the traffic below. Nowhere can you get that.
Guys, take a few of these, okay? The Yankees just scored next.
Yeah, they did. The Yankees did. I picked up from Dodgers.
When the turkey that you know folds, we might be stranded out in the cold. Still, you wouldn't trade it for a sack of gold. Let's go on with the show. Let's go on with the